city in chaos. Judgment delivered.
You release 650, we take 1650 back!
This isn't retaliation, it's restoration.
Judgment Zone.
Chicago, in theaters now.
600 criminals, one judge's signature, and all hell breaking loose on the streets of Illinois. A Biden-appointed federal judge just ordered the mass release of illegal aliens swept up in the largest Chicago enforcement operation in years. But when the order came down, something snapped. Protesters swarmed ICE facilities, roads were blocked, police were overwhelmed, and riot squads deployed. And in the middle of this chaos, one ICE commander made a promise that should terrify every criminal alien in America. What he said next changed everything. Don't look away. So this isn't just judicial insanity meets street warfare. Judge Jeffrey Cummings just unleashed over 600 illegal aliens back into American neighborhoods, many with criminal records, gang affiliations, and violent histories. And these aren't asylum seekers, guys. These are people caught in Operation Midway Blitz. It was a surgical strike against criminal networks, destroying Chicago from within and the Midwest. And think about what this means. ICE agents risked their lives for months, tracking down drug dealers, gang members, identity thieves, and violent fugitives. They arrested 3,300 illegal aliens who were taking American jobs, committing American crimes, and destroying American communities. Now one activist judge says, you know what, let them go. Not because they're innocent, not because the arrests were unlawful, but because of a technicality in a 2022 consent decree about warrantless arrests. And think about it. Your kids' schools, your neighborhoods, your workplace, 600 people who shouldn't even be in this country are about to be dumped right back into them. Some with just a $1,500 bond. Others with anchor monitors said, you know what, they're going to cut those off within hours. The judge knows this. The protesters are celebrating outside, and they know this too. The only people who seem to care about public safety are the ICE agents still trying to do their jobs while judges and judge activists work overtime to stop them. So just as this judge released 600 criminal aliens back into our communities, cyber criminals release 183 million passwords into the dark web, and identity thieves are using them to unleash chaos on American families. While protesters demand open borders, digital invaders are crossing into your bank accounts, credit cards, and retirement funds with zero resistance. That's why Virtual Shield stands guard 24/7. They monitor the dark web for your leaked data, alert you instantly to threats, and provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. Their U.S.-based team fights those digital invaders so you don't have to. This Black Friday, secure your family's digital borders for just $4.88 a month at virtualshield.com/next news. Don't let criminals, digital or anywhere, invade your life. Get Virtual Shield at virtualshield.com/next news today. And this is where it explodes into pure chaos, folks. As word spread of the mass release order, protesters descended on the Broadview ICE facility like locusts. It was like 50 degrees in Chicago for a while, 30 degrees. It was snowing. It hit 70 degrees today. And they didn't just demonstrate, guys. When it got nicer out, they blocked roads. They surrounded the facility. They tried to prevent law enforcement from doing their jobs. When police ordered them to disperse, guess what? They didn't. They refused. When deputies tried to clear the roads, they fought back. And that's when the riot units rolled in. And ICE Chief Greg Bavino, he dropped a hammer with one devastating promise. You want to release 650. We're going to hit them even harder on the streets. We'll apprehend 1650. And that's not bravado, guys. That is a declaration of war against Sanctuary City madness. For every criminal the judge frees, ICE will catch 2 more. Now watch as law and order collides with judicial activism, and street chaos is the most explosive immigration showdown America has ever seen. This is judicial treason, folks. Watch this. Biden-appointed activist
Cummings ordered 13 people to be released by Friday at noon after he determined they were arrested in violation of a consent decree in Illinois with the Department of Homeland Security over warrantless arrests. Another 615 people were ordered released into alternatives to detention like electronic monitoring or paying a bond by next Friday, the 21st. The judge saying those 615 people should not be in custody while the government and immigration attorneys and the judge determine if they were arrested in violation of the consent decree.
These activist judges have to stop. These guys are insane. They don't care about the people being released. They care about embarrassing Trump and embarrassing ICE and the DHS and everybody else in it. 13 were released immediately. 600 or more coming. electronic monitoring that they're going to cut off in hours. The judge just painted targets on American families. That is what he did. They're supposed to uphold federal law, not trounce it and throw it away. And they're dancing while criminals are walking free. Check this insanity out. Weak bodies, weak minds, weak spirits. These protesters think spandex and aerobics will stop ICE from protecting America. They mock the warriors who guard our borders while violent predators get released into our neighborhoods. This is what happens when men abandon duty and children play revolution. Check this out. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we had to cut the audio on this, guys. I mean, look at it. It's insane. They're out there in like 1980s. Like, what's that guy? Richard Simmons. You know, we should have Richard Simmons there dancing and jogging along. They're doing jazzercise to uphold against tyranny and the patriarchy. And, you know, they should actually do this at every protest. You guys have seen the general look of most of the protesters where they're in the quarter-ton range, I'm assuming. They should do this. And just maybe if this is how it's going to get kids in better shape, they should just do this nationwide. Even if they don't like Trump, why not? Just do it. So, guys, that wasn't a protest, I don't think, right? That didn't look like a protest. That's a circus act led by people who've never protected anything in their lives. I want to listen to a real commander speak truth, as Chief Greg Bovino doesn't bow, he doesn't bend, nor does he break. When judges release criminals, real men, they double down. Watch him deliver the promise that should terrify every illegal alien in Chicago. And this is what masculine leadership looks like no apologies, no retreat, just pure commitment to protecting American families from judicial insanity. Take a look.
Hundreds of people swept up in those immigration raids across Chicago could soon be freed. Let's go to News Nation's Mills Hayes. She's live outside that facility in Broadview, Illinois, outside of Chicago. Mills, give us a timeline of when we might see some of these detainees being freed.
Good morning, Alex. The federal government has just a few more hours to release at least 13 people a judge ruled were being held within a violation of a 2022 consent decree barring ICE officers from making arrests without warrants. And more than 600 others detained could be released as early as next week. The Department of Homeland Security has until later today to say whether any of the 615 people detained without warrants between June and October pose a danger or flight risk. So far, they flagged at least 313 as low risk, eligible for release on a $1,500 bond and GPS monitoring under that same settlement.
This will allow a lot of people to return to their communities because they never should have been arrested in the first place.
But anyone with a serious criminal history or deemed likely to flee will stay in federal custody. Since Operation Midway Blitz launched in September, more than 3,300 people have been arrested in Chicago and in the suburbs, and many have already been deported or left on their own. DHS must provide full status reports on everyone arrested in the Chicago area by Wednesday. The agency says the ruling won't have an impact on how it arrests those who they call the worst of the worst. And Chief Greg Bovino's doubling down, saying Operation Midway Blitz isn't going anywhere.
I'll tell you what's going to happen is we're going to go even harder on the streets. If he releases those 650, we're going to apprehend 1,650 on the streets of Chicago.
Bovino says that Border Patrol agents are training right now in West Virginia, but could be sent out to places like New York, Charlotte, and even Chicago again afterwards. Alex?
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to watch for and potentially even send reporters to if they make their way to the south. All right, Mills Hayes, thanks so much.
We're going to go even harder. And that's a warrior's response to betrayal by these activist judges. This is what happens when you challenge the law, guys. When you block federal facilities, when you think mob rule beats the rule of law, watch riot police descend on these insurrectionists like the hammer of justice. Multiple arrests, zero tolerance, and finally some backbone from local authorities who remember their oath. And these activists thought judges made them untouchable. They thought wrong, guys. Real law enforcement just showed up, and Illinois is finally doing its job. Take a look.
Immigrant Processing Center in Broadview, Illinois. You know on Fridays, this gets hot. Let's go straight to Garrett Tenney on the ground down there so this can turn dangerous. Garrett, I see that they are arresting some people down there. What's going on?
Yeah, we probably have at least a half dozen or so people that were arrested just in the last few minutes. And this is the regular Friday protest that we have here outside the Broadview ICE processing facility. A couple hundred people that are here. And what happened in the last 10 or 15 minutes, this roadway right here that leads to the ICE facility, it is blocked off. They are not supposed to be standing there. But over 10 minutes or so ago, this crowd started to move into the street to try to block it off from any access going in or out. And that's when these clashes with law enforcement started, when they refused to get out to the sides of the street, these designated protest zones, and some shoving that was involved with the county sheriff, as well as state police that are out here, as well as Broadview police. You can see down here now, riot police coming down the road. And this is after a couple of weeks of mostly calm out here on Fridays. But this comes after a week of several rulings of judges where these activists out here feel empowered. They are celebrating this morning these rulings that really are complicating the Trump administration's immigration enforcement here. And you can see the riot patrol that is out here now. They are coming and they are securing this area. Gas masks are not out at the time. We know that has been deployed here, though, previously. But tension certainly getting up here high over the last 10 or so minutes.
So gas masks were ready, riot shields were out, and this is how you restore order when the anarchists attack America's borders. And the pattern, folks, it's clear. Judges are betraying their oath, protesters are mocking law enforcement, and criminals celebrate their release. And somewhere tonight, an American family will pay the price for this insanity. It's sad, but it's true. Because when you release 600 criminals to virtue signal, blood is spilling in real neighborhoods. But Chief Bavino and his warriors aren't backing down. For every criminal release, they'll catch 2 more. For every judge who betrays America, 1,000 agents will stand stronger. This is the reckoning coming to sanctuary cities. And the enforcement surge is going to be biblical, guys, because real men don't negotiate with judicial terrorists. So here's what Judge Cummings just did. He painted a massive target on every illegal alien in Chicago. By forcing this mass release, he triggered the largest ICE enforcement surge in American history. Chief Bavino isn't bluffing, folks. When ICE is mobilizing resources from across the country, that means more agents, more raids, more deportations, everything that we voted for. I voted for more raids and more deportations. If you did, let me know in the comments. The 600 release today was just guaranteed 1,615 or 1,650 arrests tomorrow. And those ankle monitors, the judge thinks they're going to keep them in check. They're going to be cut off and in trash cans within a day. Every gang member celebrating tonight just signed their own deportation orders. Because when you poke the bear of federal law enforcement, when you turn their victory into defeat, you don't get mercy, folks. You get justice. So this is what America has become under Biden's judges. Criminal aliens get protection while law enforcement gets attacked. 600 threats to public safety are walking free tonight because one activist judge in a robe decided illegal aliens matter more than American children, family members, and victims. These aren't refugees. These are gang members, drug dealers, and violent criminals who view our compassion as weakness. But Chief Bavino just flipped the script. Every radical celebrating today's release just motivated the ICE agents to go 10 times harder. The enforcement tsunami coming to Chicago will be biblical. When activists interfere with federal law enforcement, when judges release criminals to virtue signal, real Americans are paying the price in blood. So here's my question to you guys. Should ICE ignore the judge's orders and keep these criminals locked up for public safety? It's going to be overturned, right? Let me know in the comments, yes or no, and drop your answer below. And if you guys stand with law enforcement against judicial insanity, show it by grabbing gear from our merch shop linked in the description. Real patriots support the thin blue line.